Hey, I'm running out of coffee over here. Hook me up. No, it's still making. Oh, we're live. Thank you, dear. Hey guys, Rex here. How you doing? So, bottom line up front. Let's just get straight to the point. Can't we reason together, man, without being woke, offended little fruitcakes? What's up with that deal? Oh, the kids, this generation of children is so emotional. They're snowflakes. And I see like old guys that are conservatives. Oh, we hate communism because we're old conservative guys, you know. But then if you find their magic button, beep, they cry. They get emotional. They go in the same exact operating system as the woke kids because they can't handle a discussion. If you default to a extremely emotional reaction when certain buttons are hit, guess what category you're in? That's okay. Where do you think the kids got that woke stuff from? Where do you think they got that precious snowflake, nobody can say something that hurts my ears type stuff from? Or I will react emotionally by typing 8,000 paragraphs worth of stuff? I can engage in that kind of combat too if you want to. Like, all right, we'll type stuff at each other, man. That'll learn them, right? Hey, you're like bad and stupid and I'm smart. Where did that come from? Where do you think it came from, man? Straightforwardly, who taught the kids that are like 20 years old that are the woke generation, 25, 30-year-old kids? Teachers? Who taught the teachers? The universities? How old are those people now? Weird. They're your people that are like 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. So the old gray-haired generation now is the one that came up with the idea of being woke, sensitive little snowflakes. So don't think for 1 minute that just because you got old guy stuff going on, that it's you're impervious to being sucked into this emotional response wokeism stuff. I'm going to start off with that pointy one just to kill that one right off the bat. And here's the deal. I'm a free speech guy, man. If you guys want to respond to what I'm about to tell you in any particular way, that's cool. I'm all about free speech. But like, know that you're demonstrating your operating system the way you answer in these commentaries, right? Like, if you're woke, well then like have an emotional like retort in the comments. If you want to have a discussion, then have that there. I'm all about freedom. Let the fruit display itself, guys. I think that's great. Okay, got that out of the way. So let us reason together. This time of the year, I am compelled, due to my belief system, to share with people certain things that, from I understand, seem a little pokey. They're not what we would call, from my communist school upbringing, warm fuzzies. Things that you tell people that are warm. Like, I remember Sister Emma coming out, the nun, because I have 10 years of formal Roman Catholic education. Yeah, where every class was taught by nuns. And the priest would come in. It wasn't like a CCD class where some question mark, like you don't know how qualified they are to like tell you about how the religion stuff is. I had the formal education. So they would come in and I was explaining by nuns like, the warm fuzzies make people feel good. And the cold pricklies, ugh, don't tell anyone a cold prickly. And if you would say something in class that wasn't exactly in the right tone, with the right, they didn't have pronouns back then, but the right whatever the hell, if you asked a question in a wrong way, or too pointed of a question, or questioned the wrong thing, that's a cold prickly. You might offend somebody. And this was in the 80s, man. This has been around for a while. And so that generation grew up and become what we see today. But when I was going to school, we learned a lot about how certain religious systems absorbed different things, and not all those things were from where we might have thought as a kid they were absorbed from. And they were pretty straightforward about the origin of like holidays and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, that comes from paganism. We absorbed that. Well, are we allowed to? Well, yeah, because like our God's in charge and he like absorbs all this evil stuff, and then like we do that now because he conquered it, and that proves how tough he is. Just a very, very, very to the point, no BS, colloquial assessment of the overall gist of what they teach, okay? At least what I was taught, because everyone will have a different experience. But when I was in my 20s, because I started reading, when I started dating beautiful lady over here that is my wife now, okay, we started reading the scripture. And I was hyper zealous in my defense, militant defense of what I perceived to be the truth. And I was converting like everybody. I was like converting people like, oh, you know, like, we're right because of this, and here's the arguments. And I had Smith Instructs Jackson, I had the Catechism, I had the encyclopedias out. I knew my stuff. I mean, I could convert you right now. Well, maybe not all of you, but a lot of you I could, right? At least I like to think I could. That was like my mode. And I remember started reading the scriptures looking for more proof for my side of the argument, and I started seeing some things that, interesting. These are two different deals. My religious traditions over here and the scriptures over here, there's a tiny bit of overlap, okay? A tiny bit of overlap, but a lot of it, the center of gravity of what the scriptures say and what my religious tradition was are different. So I had to pick a horse, and I can't ride two horses at the same time all that well. You can try, but how far apart are these horses going to get, right? If they're too far apart, then you can't ride it. You got to pick one or just land on the ground. And so, to make a long story short, you guys can see where I'm at with all the different discussions I posted. This was never a long-range shooting channel. Rex, you need to stay in your lane there. This is a shooting channel. Actually, that's not my lane. It's never a shooting channel. I do whatever I find interesting or whatever you guys find interesting because I do all kinds of different stuff. But my channel was originally not about shooting. Did you ever watch it from the beginning? A lot of you guys are here from the beginning. Well, my original posts were centered on what's actually really important. Long-range shooting is a great metaphor for many other things in life, and it demonstrates the physics of the universe, and there's different things to be, different parables a guy can learn from that. But in all honesty, this channel was not about that, so I don't think I'm venturing outside my original stated purpose for the channel, which you can read in the channel description if you've never read the channel description. Rex's long-range shooting channel. I am Rex, the shooting guy. I'm going to post reviews of guns and equipment and kit, and shinier kit the better. Like, that's not what it's about. I do that, but that's not what it's about, okay? The meat is right here. So, like, when I was a young man, we're getting in the story now, when I was going through this process, there was an old priest that lived right across from where we lived. And Father McGuthrie was his name, and I think he passed away a while ago now. An old Irish dude. And I would go over there in my young 20s, little, basically a kid, and I'd have all my books, all my catechism stuff, and all my different Bible stuff at the same time, because I started getting really into Genesis and Exodus, and I was like, whoa, this stuff is incredible. But then I started seeing things, especially when I read through the New Testament too. I'm like, And that guy was a great example. Father McGuthrie was awesome because, Rex, you can't call a man father. I know, dude, just like this, that was his title, okay? Doctor, senior, whatever, okay? Biblically, I understand. But just to kind of like get the point across to a broader audience, that's what he was, a Catholic priest guy. And so I'd go over there and I would hit him with the same horrific, terrible posts that make grown men cry. About like, oh, the Easter Bunny isn't real. How dare you, Rex? How dare you say the Easter Bunny isn't real? What? What the hell? I thought we all kind of knew this deal. Hey, Rex, like, how dare you say that Easter eggs are bad because it comes from like horrific pagan rituals, which I will not say on this video. You can watch my old ones if you want to see what that's about. Like, did you know that Father McGuthrie sat there and go, oh, yep, he was cool. He was honest. He was collected. He didn't get emotional except for enjoying my company. And he sat there and he leaned back in his chair behind his desk in his office with a cup of coffee. And I started bringing it up and I'm like, what about this deal? Aren't we not supposed to let the names of heathen gods come out of our mouth? It says right here. And he's just like, yep, that's true. That's exactly what it says. And I'm like, well, then what's the deal? And he would very kindly, he wouldn't get emotional. He wouldn't get defensive. He's like, well, the position of our deal is that like we get to define what that means. and we have changed now, and we absorb that stuff to sanctify it. And I'm like, yeah, but we're not allowed to do that. He's like, well, that's what the Bible says, but that's not what we're doing. It's a different deal. He was honest about it. He didn't cry neither. He didn't, you don't even know about the church. How dare you? He was cool. He was having what you and might call from a secure male, a real secure male, an actual non-emotional discussion on the topic. And I appreciated that. I came to him with the stuff in the Bible about Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, and how it gets judged with fire in the last days. So I read Revelation 17 and 18, and he sat there and he was real serious, and he kind of nodded his head and he was listening. And I'm like, who is this city on 7 hills? And he's like, well, that's Rome. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm here trying to help fight for this deal, and then you're telling me this thing in the Bible that's going to get blown up and burned in half is Rome? He's like, well, yeah, some people think it was ancient Rome. And I'm like, well, then, so it got picked up by the angel of the Lord in a millstone, cast into the sea and scattered for all eternity? It was completely destroyed? Like, because I read all the details, I'm like, I don't think this was the fall of Rome in 476 to 538 AD. He was like, well, no, I understand. Like, there's other arguments that that's the last days too, but you need to look at the St. Malachi prophecy for that. What's that? Interesting. Interesting study, guys. You know, these guys know the program. They're open about it. They're open about how, yep, paganism was absorbed into Mother Church because in those days, it was easier to just let people keep their paganism and change the names of stuff. We had to learn this from nuns and priests my whole life. Yeah, of course we took it. Christmas? Yeah, we took that deal. That's from from Egypt to Germany. There's like Northern European versions. There's Central European versions. There's Middle Eastern versions, African. Like all over the world, they have the same festival. The names are similar if you look at the etymology. Sometimes they're in a different language, but all the same characters are there in all these major religions. And we absorbed it. Because it's easier to let them keep that, and they can geopolitically be in the Mother Church, which needs to exist to have the whole world on the universal same page. Universal church, that's what Catholic means, universal. Like, no matter what religion you're in, this deal is compatible. Okay, that's what the word Catholic means. I learned that in school. So it's compatible with everything. Well, how do you become compatible with everything? You just whatever, man. Flaming pentagram upside down with a goat head on it? Well, let's absorb that one too already. And, well, Rex, you're getting crazy. No, not so much. You need to, keep in touch with your religion more. The ecumenical meetings and movements and all that stuff, it's not they don't hide it. They're very, very calm, and they say, absolutely, this is what we do. And so I had a lot of good discussions with Father McGuthrie about that stuff. We talked about Genesis and the creation and Moses and how the church can go through good times and bad times, and how God's people in the model of Israel in the Old Testament, right, have the same, hey, Moses came. Everything was tight and good after they were at the mountain for a while. After the 40 years in the desert, they went into the land. Okay, well, they got the right program. But after the course of many, 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 decades, they had their moments where they kind of got out of line. Did you know that God's people in the Bible got out of line a few times? Does that shock anybody that could happen? Let's go worship Asherah for a while. Yeah, Baal and Asherah, that's a good plan. What was God like? Yeah, man, Baal and Asherah, just bring it in. Just bring it in. It's fine. Golden calf below Mount Sinai? Sure, that's fine. Golden calf is, we'll just reclaim that for my name, for the Lord. Golden calf, great idea. Bring it in. He didn't smoke 20,000 dudes and have an earthquake and they got swallowed by the earth or nothing like that. He didn't just allow foreign heathen empires. Oh, you like heathen stuff? Well, I'll allow the heathens to destroy you and rule you and make you slaves. How about that? That never happened. It's fine. So the stuff I read about in the book is way different than what I've been handed traditionally. I'm not saying one's good or bad or the other in this video. I'm just saying it's different. Can we at least agree that it's different what the Bible says than what religious traditions do? The Bible says you're not supposed to have other gods in front of me. It says in fact in the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. I don't want to see them. I don't want them up here. I don't want them in front of me. Right? This deal's that's fine. Just absorb it. We'll conquer it. That'll be a good one. Yeah, but the Protestants, Rex, they split off. How much are the Protestants protesting? I don't see a lot. I mean, they tried that a few times and they got squashed pretty good, right? I don't see a lot of protests going on. They're doing the same thing Mama Church did. They might a couple points be different, right? And that's another funny thing too. While we're having this discussion of men who can take things, I've engaged in a lot of different studies of different Christian denominations, and each one thinks they got out of Mother Church, but they didn't. They have all the same giant tackle, the same rank system, the same regalia, all this, or regalia. They got all the stuff, right? Freudian slip. Hegelian dialectic process is part of the deal too. But it's the same program. Same holidays, which are not biblical. Same worship days. Same program of operation. Same. A lot of the stuff was adopted from ancient Mithraism, which is where the formal structure of the modern Christian Mass comes from, or the Christian program of worship, how it's done, the whole deal comes from that, which is way older than 2,000 years old. So this is history, and we shouldn't be offended if someone tells you history. If something is in there, you can, if you want to be offended at something, be offended that that's reality. Don't be offended that someone told you reality. And of course, there's different apologetic article. Oh, this one guy says this. I mean, mainstream history. Pick up any encyclopedia. When I did my exposition of these topics years ago, 11 years ago, and did videos, I showed you out of the Catholic encyclopedia all the different normal books with the sources and pages. Yep, this is where it comes from. We got the, Easter deal. We got that from, Ishtar, which is the same deal as Isis, and Ashtoreth, and all these other gods. We're not supposed to even, we're not supposed to inquire of the foreign nations how, according to the Bible, we're not, those guys that are doing Bible stuff are not even allowed to inquire how other nations worship their God and then do the same and say they're doing it for him. It's an abomination. According to the Bible, it literally says that. Don't learn the way of the heathen. Say you're doing it for me, because that's an abomination. And it provokes me to anger, and I will destroy you. That's literally all from the beginning all the way to the end. All the way through the New Testament too, guys. Paul says, flee from idolatry. What do you think he judges the earth for at the end of the book? So you got to admit that the religious traditions and the Bible program are kind of different. But actually they're not, because as was discussed with me from my priest buddy there, we know that this deal is in this story. They know that this religious tradition system that is a universal deal that the entire world would be cool with, they know that deal fits into the biblical story. Now, what does that tell you? That's when I realized, holy Moses, these guys know. And I still like Father McGuffrey because he told me, and a lot of other people when I was growing up told me that straight from the horse's mouth, man. It's in their books. It's in all the stuff. It's in history. It's in their history books. This program, this universal religious system in the last days that we have adopted, Christianity, this deal fits in the story. Yes, it does. It does fit in the story. Where is it in the story? Well, you'd have to read this book to see how it fits into that story, because there's a few different things going on there. Don't be offended. I am telling you this, if you're going to be offended. If you're going to be offended that that is reality. Now, we're all passed on things, man, that you have to inspect things, right? If I got this cup of coffee from my wife, which she just handed to me, she just poured me a new one. I can trust her because we have a relationship over 20 some years. We've known each other for almost more of our life, like more than half our lives. Hey, Mr. Twister. I'm pretty sure she's not going to put bleach in my coffee, right? Now, if some other person on the street hands you a cup of coffee, if you're past things, like, are you just going to drink it? If it's a coffee vendor, maybe, right? Because they're like a business that does that. They've been vetted by, If you're walking past an alley and a guy has a sandwich, and he's like, hey, mister, you want a sandwich? Well, sure, I'll have a sandwich. Guy in the alley, who are you? Doesn't matter. Eat the sandwich. Are you going to look at the sandwich? Is it bad because I looked at the sandwich? That's all I did, man. Some guy passed me a sandwich. The program I was in, we're eating these things that they found from all over the place. Because when you're adopting everything and absorbing everything, that means that, like, well, where'd you get this particular piece of food that we're eating? Oh, we found that in the alley. You found it where? In the alley. Weren't those guys terrible in the alley? Like the mobster, crackhead, whatever guys are in Crackhead Alley? Yeah, but we absorbed it. It's easier to absorb them than it is to fight them. So which sandwiches, because you grabbed everything on this huge buffet table, where's the pile of food that wasn't from the alley or wasn't from questionable people or wasn't from bad guys? And where's the clean food that has been like approved, by the FDA or whatever, right? Like where's the actual, it's all mixed together. Just figure it out, eat it. What is the matter with you? Why you questioning where we get our food from? Well, I've been sick. How about this one? How about most of the kids I grew up with in that system are not hyper zealous about it enough to even know like the basic precepts about it? How come most of them get bucked off the horse, and the ones that don't are operating on a different program? I'm not making an accusation. I'm just saying, like in my experience, going through, and I'm talking about the formal process, the formal education of that system. Most of the people I know that went through that, that's not what they do, man. They're like, yeah, I'm going over here. And they might give credence to it, like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Whatever they do is what I believe. Yeah, sure, that's fine. But then they actually just get bucked off all the horses. They're like, I'm just gonna be over here. So it's an interesting discussion, man. But how could a person possibly be offended by little old me for inspecting my deal that I have and then pointing out, hey guys, this one has razor blades in it. Don't eat it. How dare you look at the food we're eating? Okay, whatever, man. Eat whatever. Just put on a blindfold, walk into the alley, and if you're gonna get alley food, let's just go straight to the alley. Because when it's passed on a million times, now how much more weird stuff is getting added to that? That's all I'm bringing up when I bring up some of these deals that are hard for people to hear. Rex, I'm unsubscribing. Okay, I'm sorry I offended your little ears. It's too scary. You wouldn't want to handle what's going on next anyways. If you made it all the way to the end, and you at least hear what's going on, and you found it to be an interesting discussion, okay? And if you're not a woke snowflake, leave a thumbs up, man. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. We talk about this stuff once in a while. Pretty good. If you like it a lot, we do a lot more on Patreon, okay? Lots more in-between stuff, fun stuff, whatever. All kinds of different talks. So that's my piece, man. I have to say it. And if you have a different opinion, leave it below in a nice way. Let the copy and paste battle begin from Wikipedia, right? Like, okay, I copied and pasted this thing I found on the internet. No, I copied and pasted this one and adjusted who said it on the, or if you have an opinion of your own, it's like, hey, here's my opinion. If you have your own experience in these deals, leave that opinion below. That'll be interesting. But hey, whatever horse you're on, whatever path you're on, I think we should have discussion. I think we should reason together, because how am I going to learn from you guys if I'm wrong on something? And all they do is like start throwing rocks that are on fire, like, Rex is like against us. And they're like, all of a spear hits next to my head, like, whoa, what the hell, man? I was just discussing stuff. Now you're attacking? Like, okay, whatever, that's cool. Like, I'll get out the shield, tongue, whatever, man. Like, or I'll just stand over here and the spear can fly and hit behind me. But I like having discussion. I think it's important to have these discussions in a mature fashion to where we can actually absorb and learn from each other, okay? So I treasure and value the discussion below. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. If you dig Patreon stuff, go check out the link on Patreon, and we'll have lots more over there. All right? May the peace be with you, the good kind of peace, which is different than maybe some other guy's kind of peace. I don't know. But have a good day, guys.